Hello, what's going on, y'all? Welcome to Beauty for Ashes, the Journey Show. This is a space where real stories meet real transformation. Every episode takes you on a journey from growth, healing, and empowerment, reminding us that even our toughest seasons, beauty can rise from the ashes. Through open conversations, inspiration, and practical wisdom, we explore how to overcome challenges, embrace purpose, and walk boldly into our next chapters of life. Beauty for Ashes isn't just a show, it's a movement of hope, resilience, and renewal. So come along and journey with us because your story too is becoming something beautiful. Let's give a round of applause for our guest today. Yes, clack it, clack it. Everyone, let's welcome Toy. All right. She was born and raised in Alaska. She is a single mom of two amazing boys and is on her journey to make the next chapter of her life the best. She is learning how to find herself again after losing herself in her marriage and motherhood. Yeah, we can. How many of us can relate to that? Let us know, y'all. She is determined to raise men whom women do not need to heal from. Y'all, clock that. Write it down. I need to raise my son. When you have young kings, what Toy has said here is key. Raising men whom women do not need to heal from. Because how many of us are in that situation right now? We're healing from men who need healing. Hurt people. She has taken to podcasting to share her story and to let others know they are not alone. All right, y'all. Let's give another round of applause. All right. Let's get on into it, Miss Toy. So, my first question as I was reading your bio is, did you find podcasting or did podcasting find you?
So, when you are going through a rough time in life, you look for other sources and not always people, right? Because you don't want to involve people in your business. So
Right.
I was looking for other outlets. Like I was journaling, I was reading, and then I got into I used to love audiobooks, but I kind of got away from it because, I started listening to kids' videos and music and playlist. And I was just like, well, what's something I can do when I'm doing like my household chores. So I got into listening to podcasts. So there were a couple that were like my saving grace. I swear, you know, when I'd be going through something, the episode that happened to be playing that week was a reflection of what I was going through, or it was preparing me for what I was going to go through in the next week. So I just kind of got in the habit of like listening to a podcast. I have a plethora of them that I listen to. And then I was just like, dang, like one of the episodes was just talking about social media and about being messy and about, a lot of people use their voice the wrong way,
Oh
right?
yeah.
They use their voice on, and I'm just going to say Facebook and Instagram because those are just the two that I use. Obviously I wanted to share my story, but I had to be
Right.
careful of my audience, right? Because being with
Right.
someone for so long, you have mutual connections. And
Right.
and I'm one of the people, like, I know I didn't do wrong in my marriage in a sense, so I wasn't too concerned about sharing my side of the story to combat whatever he was saying. I was more on the lines of wanting to share my story to let people know, like, there is life after divorce. Yes, it is rough. Yes, it is tear jerking. And yes, you question your faith. And yes, you question everything, right? Your question, but more important, you question, am I built for this? Am I doing this right? Am I hurting my kids? It was, all of these things. And then I was just like, man, if I feel this way, I can only imagine like how many other women out there are struggling in silence, because that's what I was doing. And
Yes, yes.
so I
Mm.
was like, you know what? I'm just gonna just get out there. Well, I was journaling. I'm like, yeah, but journaling ain't, it's it's for me, right? I'm like, how
Right,
can I get out there and share my story to people that want to hear it, not something that like people have to hear because it's on my social platforms. So I
right.
started like, researching podcasting, and then it was just like, and I'm like a recovering perfectionist. I feel like my stuff has to be on
Come on.
point before I hop out there, especially with something like so vulnerable like this. But my mentor
Yes.
always told me, he was like, done is better than perfect, right? So
Mm.
anytime I struggle with something new, because I struggle with change, like I'm gonna be honest. So anytime
Okay.
something's new or unfamiliar, or there is the possibility of me failing, I
Hmm.
will procrastinate, because perfectionism is just a form of procrastination. So I'm like, so every time that happens, I hear done is the new perfect. So I just hopped out there, and the rest is history.
Come on, congratulations to you. Because you know what? One thing I relate to that on so many levels, because for me, it's the imposter syndrome. All of the lies that go through my head before I come, and then the spiritual attacks before. That's how you know you on the right track. The more attacks come at you, okay, I must be doing something right. I'm in the
Right.
right vein, right? Because you start to feel unsure, and am I good enough? And is it going to be okay? And that is something that I had to overcome, was perfectionism from living a life of people pleasing for so long. So
Same.
I had to overcome the perfectionism enough to just jump out here and say, okay, let's do it together. Let's heal together, because together we can do it. And community is so important. It is. And then, when you think about your children and life, I haven't this personally experienced a divorce, but I am a single mother that I can relate to. And once your children get here, it's different. So, young ladies, be mindful of who you choose to procreate with, because once your children get here, you want the absolute best of everything for them. And when you're unable to give it to them, for me, I'll have to say I experienced a lot of guilt, a lot of shame, a lot of just wanting overcompensating
Mm.
for my son. So I don't know about you, Toy. What did you struggle with the most in this transition of being a single mother?
I think for me, and I'm gonna be like super transparent. I'm still struggling, right? It's about finding a balance to where I am not only putting myself first,
Hmm.
but being mindful of, I have two young kids, because kids don't do what we say, they do what they see, right? So
Yes.
I find a balance of being assertive, respecting my boundaries, and advocating for myself, right? But in the same time, being respectful of the person I'm advocating myself to is their father, right?
Right.
So trying to be respectful, but at the same time, trying to show my kids, you don't got to be a doormat either.
Come on.
So that is a balance that
Yes.
I still struggle with, because and I've learned along my healing journey, I can't raise young men that women can't heal from if I'm not healed, or if I'm not working. But then I had to
Ooh.
also learn, right? No one's fully healed. Healing is
Mm.
a journey. There's never an end. So I had to learn when I would have those setbacks, because we all have them, especially when you've been with someone for a long time, or you've been a certain way. Like, I'm a people pleaser too. Um, Understanding, just because I have a setback doesn't mean I'm not making steps forward.
Right.
And I think,
Right.
so for me, just the balancing part of being a single mom, being a mom that's trying to raise young kings, being a single mom that's trying to like model who I want my kids to be, or be the person I want my kids to respect, and be fine in a partner one day. It's challenging, because it's hard to co-parent, and it's hard to interact with someone that you are still healing from.
Absolutely. Do you find that you take the time to celebrate yourself in the small wins?
It's so funny, because I was just talking, my therapist always gets on me. He's like, you don't toot your horn enough.
Mm.
And I
Come
it's
on.
so crazy, because in my coaching business, I preach to people, celebrate the small wins, celebrate the small victories, and I don't do it enough, right? So I need to practice what I preach. So, I look at, so now I celebrate everything, and I'm trying to also get my kids to do that too. Like, I celebrate, oh, you got straight A's in school, even though it's only the third week of school. Cool. Like, let's celebrate. You know what I mean? Like, it's you got homework. Oh, you did your homework. Awesome. So it's just trying to incorporate celebrating the wins across all areas of my life, not just in my healing journey, not just in
Mhm.
my work, not just, so it's a struggle, right? Because, every day I get up and it's a day, maybe it's a day like, okay, this is going to be a good day. But then there's other days where I'm like, ooh, this is going to be a struggle to find the good in the day. But I have to also realize
Right.
that just because I'm having a bad moment doesn't mean that my day's got to be bad.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, have you noticed that when you shift your mindset, you do end up having a better day?
Yeah, and I had to, like, right now I'm at a job I don't like, and I'm just going to be honest, and I can feel
Right.
my energy changing the closer I get to the building. And I just think that whatever I'm called to do there, and the reason I'm still there, there's a reason, right? And
Absolutely. Right.
so I just try to um roll with that. Like, yeah, you may not like being here, but there's a reason why you are here. There's a reason why you have not got another job. There's a reason why. So that's what keeps me going, is just, okay, like, I'm here for a reason. Like, I don't know what that reason is right now, but I'm gonna
Right.
roll with it until I'm either moved on to something else because I fulfilled whatever it is I was supposed to do with this place. Or, but yeah, I do find like a change in mindset does help a lot. And I catch myself when I get to work. I'm like, I drive slower when I get on the street. I, sit in the car and I like take these deep breaths. I don't go in till like 5 minutes before my shift starts, even though I've probably been there 10, 15 minutes. So it's just like the little things I got to be mindful of, because like I can feel like my heart, rate change. I can feel like I get a headache. Like, it's like all of these, physiological things that happen. But I do find that there are some days it is easier to put myself in the correct mind frame than others. But then I have to also realize I'm only human.
Absolutely. That's right. Absolutely. I give it up for that. Now, I want to go into, now this all ties together when we talk about love, right? That we that word has been thrown out here so much, and of course we love our children. But do you find that it is easy or is it a challenge for you when you need to give correction in love to your children when all of this is going on around you?
um, so I find, for me, I don't want to say it's hard. And I say it's hard in the sense of, I have to think, am I coming from a place of, am I moody and irritable about something? Or what they did, is it really constitute me to have this attitude? But I've also, one thing I have, my kids obviously don't know the ins and outs of me and their dad's dynamic, but they do know enough to know, like, I'm not afraid to say to them, like, mommy had a bad day today. I'm sorry I snapped. I'm not only big on raising men that women don't need to heal from, I'm big on raising men that understand it's okay to admit when you're wrong.
Yes. Come
It is
on.
okay to admit when you're wrong. It doesn't make you weak. It doesn't make you a simp. If anything, it makes you
Mm-mm.
strong. When you
Yes.
when you cower and hide from your responsibilities and your wrongdoing, you are a coward.
You better speak to it. Speak to
So
it.
standing up for, especially if it's someone you care about, right?
Hmm.
So I tell them my mommy's far from perfect, right? I'm gonna have good days, I'm gonna have bad days, I'm gonna mess up. But one thing you can always guarantee is, if I'm wrong, I will apologize.
Come on. I'm a firm believer in that as well. And another thing too that have been finding to be true, that I know to be true, is that it takes courage to have those hard conversations. It takes, you have to dig deep to get that courage sometimes. What does that look like for you at times when you have to dig for that courage to communicate with your children and your ex-husband?
Well, one comes easier than the other, right?
Okay.
they're, they're both hard conversations. Um, but I feel like, because when I had my kids, I practiced attachment parenting.
Okay.
And so that is being in tune with your kids, not only physically but emotionally as well. So I've not that, you know, I'm saying my bond with my kids is stronger than anyone else's. I know my bond with my kids is different because I practiced that at a young age. So I truly believe if I'm coming at them, um their kids are going to take it personal, but I don't think it like jades how they see me. But one thing I did have to get used to was my kids telling me, hey, I don't like when you said that, or hey, I don't like when you talk to me like that. I'd have like checked myself, right? Because I'm like, but I'm also teaching them, right? Advocate for yourself.
Come
Advocate for those that
on.
cannot advocate for themselves, but you can do it respectfully. But sometimes it makes me take a step back. Like, first off, who are you talking to? I don't say that to them, but that's what goes on in my head. And I'm like, Toy, this is exactly what you want, regardless
Exactly.
of who the person is, you know? So I feel like that makes communication between them and I a little easier because they know I'm not coming from a nasty place, and they also
Yes.
understand that they can tell me what they feel, they can tell me, you know, what hurt their feelings, but they also understand that just because you tell me doesn't mean that it's going to change, because sometimes the whatever we're talking about, that is what it is because you did something wrong, or it's for your safety, or I'm the mom, whatever the case may be. But I always tell them, I always want to hear what you have to say. I always want to know what
Yes.
you're feeling because that's what matters to me. We may not
Mhm.
agree, it may not change anything, but I want to hear it. Now, when I
Yes.
talk to their dad, I this is where I struggle because I still feel like, in a sense, I'm people pleasing, right? Because I
Mhm.
just don't do drama. I don't want to do drama. I don't want my kids to be like, dang, mommy was mean to daddy, or mommy, daddy got into this argument. So I feel like a lot of times I keep a lot of things in, you know, because I still see them. We go to the kids' sporting events. You know, we only talk when it comes to the kids. That's a boundary I've really enforced because I needed that boundary, because I needed to distance myself from the toxicity. So there are times where I do have to talk to him, but I just pick my battles, right? Is it something that I can kind of counteract at my home? Or is this something that I need to talk about because it needs to go across the board, both homes for the kids? So it's still something I struggle with. I still feel like I still make his parenting job easier because being a single mom, I was used to doing everything. So sometimes letting go of that control is hard. Um,
Yes.
but it's also hard because I know the consistency isn't there in the other home. So who's going to suffer? It's my kids. So
Right.
just trying to find, I feel like I'm in the stage of finding balance. If I could just say a
Okay.
word, it's just balance, finding a balance in between being a single mom, co-parenting with, you know, a parent, not overstepping my boundaries, but also making sure my kids have the best, making sure they have everything, even when they're not in my home. I tell my kids, just because you're not here doesn't mean I'm not momming.
Right.
Well, one, they don't let me. They FaceTime me all the time about the problems they're having. I'm like, you're at your dad's. Ask your dad, you know? But at the same time, I also want them to understand I will always be here for you. So it's just all about balance and just picking my battles with him and picking when I'm going to say it or how I'm going to say it. Or, like, for me, I'm really big on texting because it's a record. Because when you deal with people that are dishonest with themselves, they have no problem being dishonest with you. Um,
Ooh.
so just having a record of, oh no, I talked to you about it, or, you know, that's just how I choose to communicate with him. Hats off to those co-parents that can have verbal communications and take what the other one says as gold, but for me, I got to take it with a grain of salt.
Right. And then there that varies from time to time, from situation to
Right.
situation. Let me pause right quick. Let me just pause and just say a prayer. Like, Father God, we invite in your sweet Holy Spirit. Have your way so that someone may be blessed today. Look in the comments, you guys, you've been listening so far. Give us your questions. Chime in on this conversation because, like we were stating earlier, we are not in this alone. You do not have to suffer alone. Reach out to Toy. She has a coaching business, and it's nothing better than talking to someone who's actually been through it. Okay.
Amen.
Oh, okay. Like you want somebody that is either in it or already been through it, and y'all can cheer each other on along the way. So when we look at, okay, so like difficult people, right? we always we have we're going to have to deal with difficult people no matter what. Is there anything special that you do outside of setting boundaries that helps you navigate dealing with difficult people?
Hmm. Um, I check myself.
Mm.
Like, is this the day to do this? Is this the day? Are you okay? Are you mentally okay to take on the BS that's about to happen? Right? Because
Mhm.
if I'm already at level 9 and
Oh,
I already know this person naturally brings me to a level 5, 9 ain't the day.
right.
9 is not the day. Because I pride myself on not letting people pull me out of character.
Hmm.
Because character is all you got.
Absolutely.
So for me, the biggest thing I do is I check myself, like, okay, are you in the right space? 2, is this the right space to be having this conversation? And 3, are you going to be okay with maybe not getting the truth?
Come on.
And I feel like
Come on.
that is the biggest thing you have to realize when you deal with difficult people, is
Ooh,
you may not get the truth, and you need to be okay with that. So those are just the 3 things I do: check myself, check the environment, and am I really okay with not getting my answer or not getting the truth from this interaction?
right. And is it worth the emotional turmoil that's about to happen? For me, I find that avoidance wins out sometimes when it really shouldn't. And then, like you said, those 3 things, but I have to think about, okay, Dorcas, is this a battle you want to take on? Like, choose your battles. Like, choose your battles, because some things are not even worth
Right.
surrendering and giving your power away to certain situations, because some people come in with intentions. They're intentionally wanting to do something, get you off your square or break you out of character, and then sit back and laugh about it
Yeah. Yeah.
and be happy about it. Happy that you're all upset and just
All over the place.
discombobulated.
Yes.
Right. Right. Like, it's not okay. But then, like you said, checking yourself and knowing, like, being self-aware
Hmm.
and knowing, okay, like, this is not a good time. This is
Right.
not the time for this. So, like, when you think about those things, when you think about, I'll say, choosing your battles, right? What is it that you find that is your treasure in not beating yourself up when you choose to take the high road?
Whew, that high road I've traveled. Like, I feel like I am like a regular visitor on there.
Right.
Oof, I think that's what, because so many people don't take it. What they
Exactly.
say, the road less traveled, right? Um,
Yes.
so for me, that's just finding balance. And am I taking the high road or am I avoiding potential conflict? Right.
Oh,
So I have to look at, for me, if it, and then I'm still working on this, because, when you grow up a people pleaser, it's not something that you can turn the light switch off and on, right? It may be
right.
off, but then there may be a situation that triggers it and it's back on.
Yes.
Just being able to
Yes.
understand when you're triggered. I feel like the word trigger has such a negative connotation out in I'm not even gonna say society, because our society is social media. But all a trigger is your body trying to signal to you that there's something you need to pay attention to.
Yes.
It is
Yeah.
not something that is, oh, don't, it's just kind of like like when racers go around the track and they're on their last lap, that flag they wave out. That's all.
Yes.
It's just letting you
Yes.
know, be mindful. Something is causing your antennas to go up. It doesn't mean to be nasty. It doesn't mean to snap. It doesn't mean to blame the other person, because your trigger is your trigger.
Right.
So me just finding a balance between taking the high road, or am I triggered so I'm avoiding whatever it is that I'm wanting to avoid, because I don't want the conflict. I don't do the drama. But I will tell you this: when it comes to my kids, I will always choose the drama.
Right.
I'm just gonna keep it real, and
Absolutely drama.
and my therapist is like, but you got to sometimes choose that drama for yourself. And that's where I struggled, right? Like, no problem advocating for my kids. And I don't care who you are. You could be their dad, their granddad, their grandma, whatever, their teacher. I'm always going to advocate for my kids, because I was raised to advocate for those that can't advocate for themselves. But I was not raised to advocate for myself. right? It was that era
Yeah.
of kids are seen, not heard. When you
Yeah.
ask your parents, why this? Because I said so. So it's
Mhm.
breaking generational curses is what I'm trying to do, right? So
Yes.
my kids will always be heard, you know. Um, so yeah, just trying to find that balance of like, is this really a high road that I should take, or is no, or do I need to stand up for myself and X, Y, and Z? So yes, it's really about picking your battles, but it's about picking the right battles.
Absolutely. Now, when I just another question that comes to mind is that when I was reading your bio and listening to you right now, um, did you ever find yourself? Okay, so like when you mentioned losing yourself in motherhood and marriage, right? When did you notice that you lost yourself?
So to be completely truthful, I feel like so when you go to, when you start working on yourself and whether you go
Yes.
to therapy or you talk to a church member or whatever,
Right.
one of the things that, well, at least my therapist did was you got to take ownership, right? It
Ooh.
takes two people for something to go array. And people are like, well, how can you say that when people are in DV relationships? I was like, because there's something that person could have did but didn't do, right? Because domestic violence it doesn't start with hitting.
Right. Right.
So it could have been something as simple as leaving, or it could have been something simple as whatever, So I'm not saying that to bash people that are in a DV relationship or have been in one,
Right.
because
Right.
you don't know until you're in one what you're going to do or what you can do. But it takes two
Absolutely.
people for a relationship to fail, regardless of what type of relationship it is. So for me, I had to look at like what in my relationship with my ex-husband let him think or allowed him to treat me the way that he was treating me, right?
Hmm.
And I had to like really look like, wow, was it when we got married? No, it was way before we got married.
Wow.
So I had to look. So there was this instance that happened. So he has a stepdaughter. Well, I had a stepdaughter. He had a daughter, and she was very disrespectful to me. Like she would walk in our house and not speak. She'd get in the car and not speak. And
Mm-mm.
I would bring this to his attention, but because it didn't directly impact him, he didn't care. So that right there to me should have been a red flag. Like, hello, like it's directly affecting you. It should be affecting him. So that I feel like at that point in time is when I let him know I didn't value my worth. So
Mm.
I feel like that was the beginning of me losing myself, losing my identity, losing my voice in that,
Ooh.
right? And then I'm thinking, okay, well, as us women do, because we like to see the good, and naturally we like to see the good in people because we are naturally built to be nurturers.
Right.
So I thought, oh, if we get married, it's gonna be different because I'm gonna be his wife. I'm not gonna be his girlfriend, And then it was like, oh, if we have a kid, I'm gonna be the mother of his child. He's gonna make these changes, and that's not the case. So
Mm-mm.
for me, I had to look at. I didn't know my worth. I put up with stuff that I know I
Come
shouldn't put up with.
on. Come
So
on.
that is where I went wrong. And the other part, when I talk about losing myself in my that's how I lost myself in my marriage, but how I lost myself in my motherhood is my kid became everything.
Mm.
Put my kid before my marriage. But it was easy to do because, right, I have this little being that loves me unconditionally, needs me,
Right.
wants me. It's easy to pour into this, and it's easy to neglect your other, holy duties as a wife. But I feel like for me, it was easy to do that because my ex-husband and I, we lived apart more than we were together. Like he still worked in Alaska. So I was here in Vegas with my baby. So it was easy
Mm.
for me to build, and I had to, and a first time mom, right? You're
Right.
already like, freaking out. So it was easy for me to build a life, and I hate to say this, without him, and to
Right.
have the occasional visits, right? Our schedule can be disrupted for a week or two because that's how it works. So just, and then by the time I realized, like, dang, like I used to always tell him, I don't feel like a wife. I feel like I'm always a mom. But
Mm.
I looked to him to fix that.
Oh, wow.
you know.
Wow. Yeah.
And granted, yes, right, right, he should be doing the things that make me feel like a woman. Like, if you see that I'm stressed out, you see that I'm overwhelmed, take the baby, let me go out and do what I need to do, or take me out. So it's like, you know, so we are reconnecting as husband and wife and not as mother and father, because there was a disconnect there. So it was really
Mm.
important for us to connect as husband and wife, to get back to connecting as mother and father, but that didn't happen. And it only happened when I was the one that planned the date nights. I was the one that took care of the child care. And
Oh
it gets
wow.
old. It gets old.
Right.
So it was like, if I was too tired to do it, it didn't happen. And that was the demise.
You mentioned something so powerful, and I can relate to it, and I'm pretty sure others will be able to hit us in the chat if you can relate to this now. You get to a point where you do lose yourself, and you don't even have the ability to come back from it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and then how did you handle that transition? Like, because that's a lot, there's a lot that went on there. And like you mentioned, we teach people how to treat us. So when you wake up, because this is what happened to me one day. It's like I just woke up one day and I was like, "Ooh, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
What do I even like? Like, where have I been?"
Mm-hmm.
I had to start the journey of get to know myself all over again. And I'm still in that journey,
Mm-hmm.
discovering me.
Yep.
How did you, yeah, what was your, like, that is so powerful. Like, and because we can't blame others for choices that we made,
Mm-hmm.
because we were putting our expectations on them to do what we feel they should have done.
Or treated us right. And
Exactly. And that's unrealistic.
right. And unfair.
Absolutely. Exactly. Exactly.
I
But
think for
that whole,
me, I think for me, my, we wake up and have an epiphany, right? Like you were saying. I
yes,
think for me,
right,
and it's so crazy because I'm very transparent on social media. My friends are like, you tell everybody everything. I mean, to a point, right? Um,
right, right.
I share my world, I share my life, and it's because I want people to see, like, yeah, you're not alone. But there's this post that comes up Facebook gives you your memories,
Mm-hmm.
and there's this post that comes up, and it's like literally me crying in the camera, and it's um I forget it wasn't like anything like telling what happened. It was just kind of like just a short caption letting you know, like, something's not right.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's talking about, I looked at myself in the mirror this morning and I didn't recognize who was staring me back. That's what the caption was.
Oh,
And that post comes up every year, and it's just like, oh, and it takes me back there, right? But I think the turning point for me and my divorce made me find myself. I say
mm.
that because going from being a single married mom, that's what I was, and people, it does exist. Um, from going to someone that has their kids 24/7, and they identify their only identifying role is being a mom, but now you have to share your kids 50-50 with somebody where you don't have your kids every day, you don't have your kids on their birthday or Christmas or whatever. And learning, I remember the first 2 months we started this custody schedule, I cried every break I had for my kids, because I was like, what, who am I besides a mom? What did I do before I had kids? And it took a long time. Well, I felt like it took forever,
Right.
to, and I'm not even going to say rediscover myself. I had to find myself, because I don't think I ever did that.
Mm.
So I know for some people it's like a rediscovery, but for me it was a self-discovery. Like, I had to, like, the things that I did before, I liked them, yeah, but was I passionate about them? No. So I think divorce is a messy thing. It can be done right, but it is, more times than not, it's very messy. So you have to try to find, and I always tell people, I don't look for the silver lining, I look for the platinum lining.
Come on. Come on.
So I,
Yes.
I feel like my divorce was my platinum lining into me finding myself, getting back to the things that, maybe I put on the back burner because I was a stay-at-home mom of two young kids. So but that was my epiphany. Was it's always when that post comes every year, I feel like it comes around the same time, and it's what I
Mm,
need to hear. Because yeah, I may not, you know, be 100% happy with the person staring me back in the mirror because I still have work to do, but I am
right.
dang sure a lot happier looking at the person looking me back than I was in that post.
Ooh, and that was going to be my next question too. How far do you feel like you have journeyed from that woman in the mirror, not knowing who you were looking in the mirror?
You know, I still have my days,
Right.
but I the way I can tell I have grown is in the interactions with my ex, and
Oh yeah.
not necessarily the interactions of us being together, but just like the interactions I have about the things with us. Like for a long time, and don't get me wrong, I still have resentment sometimes, so I know I'm still healing, but for the most part, I feel sorry. Like I feel bad. I feel bad
Mhm.
for him, where I used to feel hate and anger. And don't get me wrong, I still have those moments. But for the
Right.
most part, I look at him and I'm just like, wow, like for you to cause havoc on people's lives, you are truly unhappy with who you are in your life.
Mm,
Right? Because miserable people love that saying is true. Miserable people love company, right? And
exactly.
if people can't get you to join them, they look for other people to join them about you.
Ooh.
If they can't
Ooh.
control you, they try to control how other people see you. So I've had to learn with being okay with people viewing me however they view me from what he has shared or what they gather from what I have put out there, because I know the people that matter know and the people that don't matter don't know.
Period. Period. Where did you find that strength to, or are you still in the process of that as well? Not being concerned about what others think about you or say about you or their perception of you.
I think it came easy for me because I know, like deep in my heart, that I tried. And I know that besides, other than putting, you know, motherhood before my marriage, I didn't do anything wrong. I didn't cheat. I didn't entertain other men. I wasn't out there in the streets. You know what I mean? So I just look at, like, I truly stayed who I was to my core.
Hmm.
You know, I was faithful. Um, so I think that's what helps me in a sense. Look at the journey in totality is just I've I've been who I've been. I may have changed appearance, like, you know, whatever,
Hmm.
lost weight, whatever. People always say the glow up, right?
Right, right.
But I feel like at my core, I am still the same person. I'm loyal to a default. I've just been loyal to the wrong people. Like I used to think
Yes.
that
Come on.
loyalty was a bad quality, and it's like, no, Toy, loyalty is good. There's so many people out here that don't have that, right? So just learning that I deserve the same loyalty I give.
Exactly.
And when I'm not getting that, it is okay to be like, deuces. You know, I don't have to explain myself. And I think that for me is what's
Ooh.
huge. I don't need to explain myself. If I'm not being treated right, I don't owe you a reason or a justification why I have chosen to either cut you off or deal with you in a different manner. I don't owe you that.
Right. And I think that is so misconstrued, but it shows growth.
Hmm.
That is where you really know you've grown. Because I notice even myself, I find myself, wait a minute, I'm using too many words. I'm talking too much. Like, no is enough.
Yeah. Yes. Period. And as my kids would say, what do they say? Period! Exclamation mark! No question mark.
Absolutely. So, Toy, I always want to leave the people with hope.
Hmm.
So, what would you suggest for someone that's going through this? Because, like we've mentioned this on more than one occasion in this conversation, you're not alone.
Hmm.
What sense of hope would you leave for them someone that's going through, maybe they just fresh in the divorce, or maybe they haven't even gone to court to do the separation papers yet, but what would you leave with the people as a glim of hope for them?
Um, I would, it's simple. You're human, right? So
Mhm.
for me, I had to like be okay with being hurt. Like I'm hurt, even though I'm the one that wanted a divorce, it's okay to still hurt. Like it's okay to still wish. So people don't understand when you, unless you've gone through it,
Mhm.
any relationship, I'll say, you don't grieve the loss of the person. I mean, you do, but you grieve the loss of the life you thought you were going to have.
Oh.
Right. Like for me, I waited till I was 33 to get married because I was like, when I do this, it's a one and done. I'm not getting married to get divorced. So I feel like that's part of the reason I stayed longer than I should have. So I'm
Mhm.
telling people, don't beat yourself up about that. Don't, because it will beat you
Right.
to the ground and it's hard to come back from. So that would be my first thing. Second thing is you're human. It is okay to have good days and bad days, but because you have bad days doesn't mean that you're not making progress. Because
Right.
the other thing is the good days will eventually start outweighing the bad days. I know it does not feel like that when you're in the trenches of it. And then the other part I would say is don't air your business on social media, but find
Right.
you a good, solid community that you can pour into, so this is the other part, and allow people to pour into you. Because I think a lot of
Absolutely.
times if you're
Oh,
like
that's good.
going through something difficult, it's easy to like, I'm just gonna be by myself. And like for me, like I still struggle with that because like um, I've learned to enjoy my own company, but
That's
I have
good.
learned to enjoy it too much. I have to
Mm.
learn the difference between, am I alone because like I need this time, or am I alone because I'm avoiding interacting with people?
Ooh, that's
So just being okay with pouring into others, but allowing people to pour into you. And I feel like that was the biggest struggle for me because I'm one of those that's a trauma response. I'm what
mm.
they call that a uh too much self independence, and it's from being let down.
Ooh.
So now it's like, oh, I'm not going to rely on anybody because I'm going to take care of it. But no, we are built to need people. This
Yes.
world, I'm going to talk about the dating era, just this societal era
Right.
we're in. We're not built to be alone.
No.
We're built to need people. We're built for it to be a mutual exchange. So just don't forget that.
Yes, come on. That was beautiful and powerful. Now, this question, because it's like in my heart right now, as far as forgiveness,
Mhm.
where do you feel like you are like now on your forgiveness journey?
So I did this exercise with my therapist, and it was writing a letter to those that you need to forgive. And as I'm writing it, I was realizing a common theme is I had not forgave myself,
Mm.
and learning that forgiveness is not for the other person; it is for you. So I feel like there's things I have forgave myself about, like staying longer and, subjecting my kids to, not that they were like ever, like my relationship was never physical, but forgiving myself for forgetting that I do have that connection with my kids. So even if I'm not speaking my hurt or my discomfort, they're picking up on my vibes.
Yes.
No, so I'm going to say being ignorant to that, right? Thinking like, oh,
Hmm.
it's only me that's being affected. No, boo boo. It ain't just you,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So, I still struggle with that because that's where the mom guilt comes in. Like if
Hmm.
you're a mom, you know what we're talking about. So,
Exactly.
um, and I just keep reminding myself, Toy, you're human. You're not a robot. You have feelings. Like, I would be concerned if these things didn't bother me. So just learning to forgive yourself And then when you truly forgive yourself, then I feel like it's easier to forgive those that have hurt you.
Oh, that's good. That is so good. Yeah. Now what I'm gonna take from this is writing the letters, because
Mhm.
sometimes when you think you've forgiven someone and you find out you really haven't. But one
Yep.
jewel that I did hear is that the way you know that you've really forgiven someone is if you have the ability to interact with them and have a conversation with them like nothing ever happened. I'm
Mhm.
like, whoa, that's good. So I have some work to do.
We all do.
I have not arrived. So, Toy, this has been absolutely amazing. What I would like for you to do now is share with everyone where they can find you and where they can listen to your podcast.
Okay, so you can find me on Instagram as Bodied by Toy. So it's BODIEDBY, and then my name TOI. And so that's my Instagram. I want to say my Facebook page is the same, but I have two pages. So my business one is Bodied by Toy on Facebook, but I share that I'm very transparent. So what's on my personal page, it's shared across all of my platforms. So you can just find me on Facebook, Toy Regis. So my podcast is on Spotify. It is called For the Love of It. And it is kind of my journey to having my world turned upside down by divorce. And what made me share this, because there were so many things I learned the hard way going through this journey, that if I feel like if I would have kind of known in the beginning, I'm not saying the outcome would have been different. I feel like I'd have just been better prepared. So that is what I'm doing, is sharing with you the things I wish I would have learned throughout the journey, whether you're dealing with a narcissist, whether you're dealing with a toxic person, whether you are um, dealing with childhood trauma, because that all plays in there, uh,
Ooh.
whether you are wherever you're at, whether you're living together but you're separate. So for me, I filed for divorce in January. I still lived in the home for 5 months.
Oh,
So there
wow.
so there were things that I learned to make the transition for my children easier that I wasn't doing initially. So it's just it's you know, and I honestly, it's just what works for you. So I'm just sharing with you what worked for me and hoping that you'll take some of it and make your own playbook.
Absolutely. Yes. Let's give a cyber applause to Toy, everybody. Thank you. You brought up some things though that could be a whole nother. We could talk forever. We could talk
Well,
more and
I
more and more.
would love to come back. So
Woo, because when you talk about and just the childhood trauma piece of it, like, oh my God. And
oh,
like, yeah, the time that I did spend in therapy, it was dealing with that inner child. Oh my God.
mhm. Well,
How
I would
that
love to
little
come back.
person.
So I'm honored that
All
you're
right.
inviting me here. So
Awesome. Okay. That is a plan. I'm gonna take you up on that,
yes,
Toy.
ma'am.
All right. Ever since the day I met you, there was an instant,
Yes,
and then we talked, and then we had the opportunity to have a little conversation, and then we found out how much we had in common.
yes,
So just
yes. And that's a whole nother podcast.
so I just want to take this opportunity to let you know that you are a bright light shining. You keep shining, and don't you let anything or anybody dim your light. And just, I'm a phone call away
Yes,
all
ma'am.
the time. All right. And we are here. Let's heal, grow, and go together, everybody. Know that I love you to life, but Jesus died for you, and don't you never forget it. Beauty for Ashes, the journey, y'all. Let's go.